What happened back there?
I don't care.
Hey, I've got an idea. Let's rock talk.
Hey everybody, it's Lord Magicus. We're going to talk about our December 4th banned and restricted announcements. Since we tend to cover these when these happen, there's some significant changes, and I think it's worth talking about. So they're not changing anything with Standard, Pioneer, Karn, and Geological Appraiser are banned. Appraiser is the new 4-mana, not Cascade Cascader, and they're unbanning Smuggler's Copter, and for Modern, Fury and Up the Beanstalk get banned, and Pauper, they banned Monastery Swift Spear. So, here we go. Yeah, they're also changing the date windows for this. So, basically, instead of it being rigidly like 3 weeks afterwards, they're saying that they'll give it 2 to 5 weeks, which is honestly really funny because pretty much every single time that they've ever actually said this is the hard date when we are definitely going to like do this announcement, they realize what a mistake that is, and then they change it like almost immediately, and then like every so often they'll just be like, now we want to change the structure of how we're doing this. And it's like, just, you need to like give yourself the flexibility and like just leave it like this. All right, this will be fine. Because yeah, they want to be able to like schedule their banned and restricted announcement around certain tournaments that might be happening at the time, so they get better data and make their decisions. So that's basically what that's changing. I think that's a good change, and the important thing now is that the next couple week window is going to be around March 11th, which will be after Murders of Karlov Manor. So they did talk about their overall philosophy. I will say some of the things that they said were probably okay, and some of them are a little bit suspect. I think one of the things that I believe that they said was the newness of a card has no bearing on whether it's going to get banned or not, which is absolute and total bullshit. And I think every person watching this knows that. Like, there was like basically no chance they were going to ban the One Ring or Orcish Bowmasters because they're currently being sold in the holiday sets right now. So of course, those cards, they're new and they're being sold right now to make them a shit ton of money. They're not going to ban those cards. Sorry, it's not going to happen. Not until they stop selling Lord of the Rings stuff. Then maybe they'll consider banning One Ring at some point. But no, obviously it is true. Like, even with like Felidar Guardian and Saheeli Ray, were they going to ban Saheeli? No, of course not. They're not going to ban the face card of their set. They'll ban new cards when there's stuff like Up the Beanstalk. They're not going to ban new cards when, yeah, there's stuff like Saheeli, or in this case, like Quintorius. Like, they'll ban Geological Appraiser because it's, an uncommon, I think. I actually can't tell with the set symbol because the set symbol is really bad for these. So, but, yeah, the color is hard to distinguish, but yeah, they're not going to ban, like, the face cards of their set. And, like, we all know this, but, you know, they have to give that line, I guess. And the other thing I think that they mentioned is talking about how unfun the play patterns of Grief are, and also how even if a deck doesn't have a problematic win rate, if its play patterns are very unfun, that factors into it. Which means that I'm very surprised that they didn't touch Grief at all. And I kind of suspect that at some point in the future they probably are going to, but we're not there yet. I'm going to say that probably in March, Grief is going to get re-looked at, and we'll see. If Scam like is still kicking then, and people are still pissed, then Grief will probably get banned at that point. But I don't know. Until then, we'll have to see. I honestly kind of thought that Grief might kick it today, but yeah, well, it is what it is. But yeah, well, to look at Pioneer quick. So they banned Karn the Great Creator basically because of the mono green Nykthos deck. And they banned Geological Appraiser because it was like a turn 3 Cascade combo deck. So if you are like on your turn 2, you can actually just die to this thing, comboing off and basically putting like a bajillion copies of itself in play and then killing you with like Bushwhacker effect or, you know, similar types of stuff. So very dangerous, and yeah, they decided they don't want Pioneer to be like modern style combos like that. So combo needs to be at least like a turn slower. They want combo winning on like turn 4 at the absolute earliest, and so they did say they're watching Quintorius for this kind of the same reason. So yeah, and some of the other cards, but for right now, yeah, this was too consistent and too fast, so they banned Appraiser. And Karn is just the absolute best thing that you can do with like a bajillion Nykthos mana, and it was solving all of Green's problems. So yeah, Mono Green has been like one of the, if not the top deck in Pioneer, basically since the creation of the format. Actually, it's been very, very powerful, and Karn has just enabled it very much to find answers to basically anything that's a problem for it. And also, like, if Karn is really bad, it makes other artifacts really bad, so like the mirror matches can get it kind of dumb with it too. So they decided, you know what, and we don't want to ban Nykthos, because I think they look at Nykthos sort of like institutionally, the way that like Legacy has its institutional card. So like they're banning kind of around it instead of just going for Nykthos itself. So and they're unbanning Smuggler's Copter. Now, I'm not sure whether this is a good or a bad idea yet, because Smuggler's Copter is actually a very powerful card. We don't see it a lot in Modern because the power level of Modern is like even more absurd, but Copter got banned from Standard because like literally like the top 32 decks were like, or was it like something like 30 or 30, maybe 28 of the top 32 decks were running like 4 copies of Smuggler's Copter in it, like the first event after it came out. It was a ridiculous amount. Like every fucking deck was playing this card in it, and because it's Crew 1, a 3/3 that loots and it is flying for 2 mana is really awesome. And it dodges the sweepers and basically gives all your 1-drops and stuff haste, which is super awesome. So they can crew the turn you play them. So I think they're hoping that it revitalizes some decks, like maybe mono black aggro, but I'm not sure if it's going to accomplish that goal or not. But I guess we're going to find out. So I still have a foil playset of this card. I don't know if I'm going to actually use it or not, but maybe I should consider selling them before they find out. Oh yeah, Copter probably should be rebanned. I don't know if it's good or bad that it's unbanned. So I think that one I'll be interested to watch. Modern's the one that we're most interested in talking about, though. Yeah, Fury is banned and Up the Beanstalk is banned. So basically, they mentioned that, you know, they had named Bowmasters in the Ring. They know that they're a problem. They absolutely know that, and they've been watching, but they don't want to ban these cards. And I think, yeah, we all know the reason why they don't want to ban these cards. But they're looking at Scam and trying to figure out a way. Like they acknowledge that Scam got worse, and one of the things they did do in their philosophy announcement is they apologized for the announcement that went out, because it was they said that it was a mistake. And yeah, I would say not just a mistake, but a colossal fuck up. So the apology is nice, but I guess it's better late than never. Yeah, and so now they realize Scam continued to get worse instead of better, so they had to do something. So they decided that they're removing Fury in the hopes that the card's like not dead after all. Like all the blink ones that like stop it from or bring it back from the graveyard when it dies they're hoping be less good when it's just grief. Now they mentioned that Solitude plus Ephemerate might be a way to replace it, but they think that it's not as bad, because Solitude being like a 3/2 with lifelink, or even like a 4/3 with lifelink if it came back with the other Undying thing, it's not as bad as a 4/4 with double strike. And I mean, that's also true, because the Scam starts with Fury, mean that like you basically have like 2 turns to do something, or you're just dead. Because Fury's going to attack you for 8 damage in turn 2, and then another 8 damage in turn 3. And you're up against a Lightning Bolt deck, and you probably have to fetch and shock, and so yeah, you might actually die in turn 3 to a Fury in turn 1. Whereas Solitude is not going to kill you that quickly. Grief doesn't kill you that quickly, but it's still annoying because Solitude is going to oppress creatures exactly the same way Fury did. It's just the game will drag out a little bit longer. So I'm not convinced that like this isn't the way that they're going to just replace it, and Scam will continue to thrive. But the other thing is that Fury was in the 4-color Cascade deck, and that was another deck they wanted to hit. So Up the Beanstalk is also one that they chose to go after, because it being a card that they chose to cascade into Up the Beanstalk over something like Ancestral Vision. So they realized that Up the Beanstalk, drawing them a card every time they evoke or cast like a Leyline Binding, was actually drawing them more cards than just a literal free Ancestral Recall. So the cascade going into Up the Beanstalk would like, that was kind of the sign that for them that was like, okay, this is actually a problem card and needs to go away. And Fury is also a card that deck played, and so it's going to hurt 4-color a little bit with that going away too. I mean, I think Rhinos is going to take a little bit of a hit, but you know what? That's fine. I think Rhinos can live without Fury. They're already doing enough unfair stuff, so... Yeah, they mention Legacy here. They're not making any changes, but they do like call out that like Brainstorm, Force of Will, and Wasteland basically are unbannable cards in this format because everybody in Legacy loves those 3 cards and want to play with them a lot. So it was kind of interesting that they do that. And they also talk about some of the new cards that have impacted Legacy, and they're mostly happy with it. And the same thing with like Vintage. They're pretty much acknowledging that, you know, there's some new cards. Like Lorien Revealed is actually a really, really big one in Bowmasters and Vintage. Yeah, One Ring also, like, all of these cards are still like affecting it a lot. So yeah, they're watching some of these cards and stuff like Lorien Revealed and Urza Saga being the glue that like works together. It was something that I guess they're keeping an eye on, but like it's fine for the moment, I guess. And yeah, Explorer, they're just updating Explorer to match Pioneer. That's it. So here we go. And then the other thing is in Pauper, they're choosing to ban Monastery Swiftspear. So why? Why not more? So yeah, yeah, they're happy with this. There's a lot of diversity in here. So what's the problem? The speed and polarization. Yeah. Adding cards like Tolarian Terror, All That Glitters, and Swiftspear has made decks faster with more explosive starts. And yeah, Swiftspear is a very fast and very powerful card, and it makes mono red very, very quick. So using any of the 8 blasts or life gain, so yeah, there's good options against it. Tremendous impact on it, and yeah, there's also basically a new card that pairs alongside it. So Pauper now has its own like Goblin Guide type card. So, and yeah, I get they don't like that, you know, the mono red deck is now getting so many things that it's actually getting to be a little bit too quick too, especially with like Cold Author Rebirth and Bushwhacker already being part of it. So they wanted to hit a card or 2, and they chose Swiftspear. So there are other stuff on the table. Yeah, and Affinity, they're talking about All That Glitters here. Yeah. Yeah, so they talked about All That Glitters and either the 10 bridges of the artifact land. So, and yeah, they're not banning anything with it. They're hoping that maybe the change to mono red will fix the metagame a little bit, but the indestructible artifact lands are definitely something that are on the table for them that they were looking at banning. So it's either, yeah, like some of the artifact lands, or maybe this All That Glitters. Yeah, there are also issues, and yeah, I guess Tolarian Terror has not been yeah, the win rate is, I guess, not a problem for this yet, right? So there's enough counterplay, I guess, against Terra that they're happy with that. So yeah, and they were talking about making more than one change at once, but I guess Swiftspear is just enough here. You should definitely go and I like that they're talking so much about this. Even talking about possibly reversing bans, but yeah, yeah, and they're also saying like, you know, this discussing unbanning this card was the thing that was happening, but they don't want to unban it at the same time when they're trying to tune it by banning a card here. So it's not something that they're comfortable just yet. So same thing with like Sinkhole, Hymnotark, and High Tide, but yeah, at some point it could happen. And yeah, they talk a little about Namesticker Goblin Yeah, and this card is an issue, and they mentioned this because technically on MTGO, Name Sticker Goblin does not actually work the same way it does in paper, so there's a little bit of an issue about that people are asking, should this card be banned because it doesn't actually play the same way, so technically the formats are not the they're not the same. So yeah, and they do mention like if the disconnect becomes enough that they're willing to ban this card. So they're keeping an eye on a bunch of stuff in Pauper, and so they mentioned there's like a watch list for this, and yeah, basically like Mono Red was getting a little bit too fast, and also they were not like super happy with the way that the metagame was pressuring everything, and it's definitely possible that we'll see more changes in the horizon for Pauper, but I haven't been playing a whole lot of this, but it's good. It's good to see that like Pauper actually gets the love that like Modern probably should. I think that banning Fury and Beanstalk is probably good for the format, but I think there's probably a little bit more work that could be done, and I kind of wish that they would. But you know what? It's a start, all right. It's not like Fury was doing the format any favors. Like this is like one of the most absurd cards they've ever printed in a Modern Horizon set. And that is saying something because they also printed like Hogak and Ren and Six and Ragavan, and yeah. Fury, the fact that like Scam could like kill off actually 4x1 creatures with Fury and then bring it back and then kill off like 4 more x1 creatures. Like, imagine you're playing a token deck and you have like 8 tokens in play, and then Fury can, for like 1 mana, can just kill your entire board. It's actually just like disgusting. So yeah, oppressive to creatures. I don't think that just banning this is going to be enough though. There's still stuff like Bowmasters, Ren and Six, and then even like Plague Engineer that can definitely come back and force in the metagame if the X1 creatures actually dare to poke their heads out of their little hidey holes. So I won't be jamming like Silverkill Adepts or anything anytime soon just because Fury's gone. But I mean, it's a start, and it means that in March, then, if things continue in the direction that, like, I kind of foresee it happening, then we might be revisiting this conversation and having more, but overall, I would say, honestly, this was probably a good announcement. Both Pioneer and Modern, I think, really kind of needed these bans, and the fact that they're giving themselves more flexibility, and I mean, it's funny to like laugh at them that they have to keep relearning this lesson over and over again, that don't try to adhere to these rigid schedules. Like, just ban the cards when they need to be banned. That's it. Like, just do that. And they are actually going to go back to a more aggressive management style with Pioneer. I think they mentioned that as well. So Pioneer is going to actually get more attention, and probably, if anything pops off in a way that they're not liking, they'll more aggressively ban stuff in Pioneer the way they used to at the beginning of the format. So that's good. I like that. So I would almost prefer that Modern saw a little bit more in that direction, but yeah, they tend to be a little bit more conservative with Modern, which makes sense because they're made for Modern sets, have all these cards that they want to sell, so they're not going to just ban the One Ring in Modern, even though if there was a similar card in Pioneer, it probably under this philosophy they would ban it in Pioneer first. So things have to have a little bit more time, I guess, in Modern, and I don't know. I feel like we could have had like an Uro style banning where they just ban like 5 cards, but yeah, like I said, I'm not upset that these 2 cards went away, but it definitely could have been worse, and they could have done a worse job than getting rid of these 2. At least these 2 are going to be meaningful. It'll change things. I don't know if it's going to change things enough, but we'll find out. Well, so that's all I've got for today. So thank you, and I'll see you again next time.
Yeah, that was good rock talk.